All right, so let's talk more now about this, because it obviously also follows a series of executive actions regarding energy. Bring in John Kilduff of, again, Capital. John, putting aside the price of oil, Ukraine war thing, which we could debate, that's a totally separate argument. Here's the problem, is that even the president earlier in the speech, in a soundbite we did not run, said that he wanted to Saudi Arabia is committing $600 million or $600 billion in capital to the United States. President Trump implied he wanted to raise that ask to maybe $1 trillion and complimented His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, but at the same time is suggesting that he wants oil prices to come down. And I just don't know or don't think that the two things are necessarily compatible.
Well, it is a difficult thing to square, Brian, and I do believe that the first call President Trump made was to the Crown Prince to emphasize the close U.S.-Saudi ties that he wants. Look, one thing he's right about is that the Saudis and OPEC Plus could lower prices. You and I have watched those prices wobble and go lower, even on the hint that the current production scheme wouldn't hold together and there would be increased production. Even just noises about that have sent prices lower. Just to talk about the Russian thing for a second, we all know the Russian economy is teetering. It's highly dependent on petrodollars. To the extent we choke off that supply of funding to Russia, that would certainly be a problematic situation for Putin. So President Trump, I think, is pushing the right button there on that one, too.
Now, here's where it is possible, John, which is that if the Saudis go after a market share war, and I don't think they will. In our reporting from OPEC, the meetings in Riyadh, the virtual meetings, whatever it is, suggested the same, reading yours and others' work. If they went after a market share war, so they were able to bring prices down but sell more barrels. Now, the United States wants to sell more barrels as well. So that would imply a lower price, but more money, but it would also come at the expense of somebody else. And I'm assuming what the president means is that the expense of somebody else would be Russia, because talk to us about how Russia's still selling a lot of oil, as is Iran, around the world. We got to cut that off. I think that's what the president was suggesting.
It is. And it's, again, this is to your first point about this being difficult to square. Look, OPEC Plus wants a higher price than where we are right now, not a lower one. The Saudis have their own hopes and dreams these days in terms of building out a new nation and country and future that is much less dependent on oil. So we're going to come up with $1 trillion for us and then several $1 trillion for their own NEOM aspirations is an open question. But as far as the market share war goes, look, the Saudis are the low-cost producer by far. As you know, they make money on oil, even when it's down into the 30s, 20s, down around there. It's our own domestic production that gets threatened by much lower prices, Brian. So our guys would pay, but certainly some of the other OPEC countries as well would be suffering, like Iraq and Libya and some of the others.